Have you ever entertained the thought, could God be living on Mars? A far-fetched query, you might say, but not one without merit. This question has sparked heated discussions between two distinct factions: the scientific community and the religious sphere. On the one side, we find the scientists who demand evidence before accepting any claim. They argue that the notion of God residing on Mars, or any planet for that matter, is at best speculative. The scientific method requires observable, empirical, and measurable evidence subject to specific principles of reasoning. To this date, no such evidence has surfaced that supports the idea of a divine entity dwelling on the red planet. Astrobiologists, who study the potential for life in the universe, have not yet detected any signs of life on Mars, let alone a higher power. Mars, as far as we know, is a barren, inhospitable world. The planet's surface receives lethal doses of radiation, has a thin atmosphere, and experiences frigid temperatures. These conditions are not conducive to supporting life as we understand it. On the flip side of the coin, we find the religious perspective, which often operates on faith rather than empirical evidence. Some religious believers propose that God is omnipresent, everywhere at all times, and thus could very well exist on Mars. They argue that God's presence is not confined to Earth alone. The cosmos in its entirety is God's dominion. Moreover, some argue that God is not a physical being that requires specific conditions to survive. Instead, God is a spiritual entity that transcends physical limitations. They believe that God's existence on Mars is as plausible as his presence on Earth or anywhere else in the universe. In summary, the question of God's existence on Mars straddles the boundary between science and faith. Science demands physical evidence, which, as of yet, does not substantiate the claim of God's presence on Mars. On the other hand, religious believers propose that God, as an omnipresent and spiritual being, could exist anywhere, including Mars. This intriguing question, could God be living on Mars, remains a topic of ongoing debate. It invites us to ponder the nature of God and the universe, the relationship between science and faith, and the possibilities that lie beyond our current understanding.